Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us. Our next session today will be a fireside about Beyond Technology, a fireside chat on human-centered transformation. It'll be moderated by Rebecca Warren, Senior Director of Talent-Centered Transformation at Eightfold AI. And she'll be speaking to Rajh Odi, Associate Director, Talent Intelligence Lead at Bristol Myers Squibb. So over to you both.
Hello, so excited to be here today. Raj, great to see you.
Hi there.
Excited for our
Hi,
chat.
everyone.
All right, so AI is opening new doors for how we attract, develop, and support talent, but the true opportunity lies in how we use it. So we're going to be spending some time talking about using AI in a human-centered way. Whether it's improving how organizations identify skills to create more equitable opportunities. We'll spend some time talking about practical steps and have a little fun along the way. So Raj, are we ready for this?
I sure am. I'm ready. All
Okay,
right.
let's go. Okay, so when we talk about human-centered transformation, it sounds a little bit like a word salad. Like, what exactly does that mean? So we are looking at that in a whole different way in the age of AI. It's not just about empathy and culture, but it's about how we design work around and for people. So I'd love to get your perspective on how you think about that balance between human and machine. What should we be
Yes.
thinking about, aware of, afraid of, excited about? What are you
Yes,
thinking?
it's the big buzzwords these days, Rebecca. So, in terms of human-centered transformation in the age of AI, what that means is designing work so that technology amplifies and not replaces human potential.
That's
So
right,
for me,
amplify.
I see AI as a co-pilot, not the driver. It's about freeing people from repetitive tasks so that they can focus on creativity, empathy, and strategic thinking. So, for example, at my organization in talent acquisition, AI helps support screening of applicants and scheduling of interviews, while recruiters can spend more time sourcing talent, evaluating talent, and building relationships and advising managers. This balance ensures that technology serves people and not the other way around.
Yeah, I love that. And I know BMS has spent a lot of time figuring out what does that look like to have that human and machine connection. And the word amplify is so right. The goal is to have um, AI be that humans are able to amplify what AI puts out. Um, Tal Goldhammer talks about instead of human in the loop, talks about human in the lead, and I love that. Um, that idea. Oops, have we lost Raj? I think we might have lost Raj. Okay.
Am I back on?
So,
Oh,
oh,
there I am.
there you are.
Okay.
Hello, hello. So I
Yes,
was
sorry
just
about
saying that Tal Goldhammer talks about human in the lead instead of human in the loop, right? So it's what you talked about. We are driving that strategy. We are putting that forward. So for most AI is seen as a technology initiative, but like we just talked about, you've said it's really about people. So what does that mean in practice at BMS?
So when I say AI is about people, Rebecca, and we mean every implementation starts with a human challenge. So at BMS, our talent strategy focuses on inclusion and growth. AI helps us identify hidden skills, reduce potential bias, and create personalized career paths for our employees. AI tools such as MyGrowth, which is powered by Eightfold AI, gives our employees visibility into opportunities for upskilling and internal mobility, empowering them to shape their own careers rather than be limited by the static job descriptions.
So I have been connected with you all for a while, first in customer success and now coming over here in my role in talent-centered transformation. And you all did a video a while back for my growth, which I thought was the best video ever, which was showing why it made sense to connect AI skills using other opportunities to be able to amplify opportunities inside your organization. You are one of the few companies that has spent as much time and energy working to connect people, skills, and technology. So I love that video. I think I might have watched it 8 times or something like that. It was so good. So
So have I.
You all have that human connection, right? Figured out. So, okay, so you talked about that you have to have the right challenge to solve. It's not AI for AI, it's solving a human challenge. So, when you first started looking at AI as part of your talent strategy, what was that human challenge, whether it was for the business or employees or maybe connected, that you were most determined to solve? What were you trying to get to an answer about?
Yeah, so our starting point was a life or death talent shortage in our cell therapy manufacturing. We needed skilled talent fast to deliver therapies to our patients. And we needed to do this in such a speed that we've not done before. So when we looked at this urgency that we had, we needed to push adopting a skills-based approach, Rebecca. So using AI to map capabilities and redeploy talent internally was the most efficient way for us to do that. And it wasn't about just efficiency, but it was about saving lives. At the end of the day, that is probably our most important mission here at Bristol Myers is to deliver medicines faster to our patients. And that experience taught us that AI adoption isn't anchored in just the technology, but it's in solving real human problems, as you mentioned.
So I can't think of a greater use for AI than saving lives, right? I mean, that's the tagline, right? We're saving lives.
Exactly.
So when you think about that too, you didn't just start it in TA, right? Like, weren't you thinking of this as like a company-wide way to get the right people in the right places? So, talk to me a little bit about how you were thinking about rolling out something as big as this. It couldn't just be a tiny initiative over here in the corner, right?
Correct. But for me, I mean, there was that balance, right? So embracing experimentation with strong guardrails is
Mm.
probably where the company was going as well. Transparency and ethics were definitely non-negotiables, Rebecca. Every AI initiative goes through governance checks for bias, explainability, and compliance. I would also prioritize communication. So employees need to understand how AI impacts them. And moving fast doesn't always mean cutting corners, it means building trust while innovating. So this is kind of how we started a little bit of navigating a little bit of this balance.
Yeah, I think that's really smart, right? I spend a lot of time talking to different folks in different places, whether they're interested in an AI transformation or they're really kind of scared of it. And that's where we spend time talking is what kind of governance do you want to have? What are those guardrails? What are those things that are non-negotiable? So I like where you say we go through a vetting process. We make sure that we're doing the right tech for the right thing. We're looking at what are those guardrails? How do we make sure it's safe? How do we make sure it's compliant? How do we make sure that all of the things we're putting in place are going to help as opposed to hurt or cause more problems? So I love how you're thinking globally about it, not just here in our corner of TA, we're going to do this thing. So love that.
Exactly. And our principles were simple, right? Fairness, transparency, accountability. We've also created governance frameworks, Rebecca, and ethics committees to review AI use cases before deployment so that these steps help us keep technology aligned with our values. And we want to be able to deliver those medicines faster to patients in this manner as well.
Yeah, I think that is so smart to make sure that there are ethics as well about what you're doing. That's amazing. Okay, so that leads me to the next thought around um, how AI has helped you uncover or develop skills inside of your workforce that might have been overlooked. So you've put together a plan to say, hey, we've got some critical areas we need help in. We are saving lives. We need to make sure we've got the right people in the right places. So talk to me about maybe an example of where AI has helped you. Uh, Uncover maybe some unrecognized skills in your organization that are now helping you move forward.
Yes, exactly what you said. One powerful example of how AI-driven platforms like Eightfold has surfaced adjacent skills in our workforce is that we have employees that were identified internally from one part of the organization and then being once we've identified them and we're able to kind of identify their skills, transferable skills, we were able to then move them into the roles that they were meant for. So allowing employees who weren't on the radar for certain roles to be identified as strong candidates based on transferable skills, that was definitely one example of how we saw this in motion. This opened doors for internal mobility and career growth, creating opportunities that might have been missed in a traditional resume-based process.
Yeah, because I think there's the idea, and it's still out there. I think it'll be out there for a while, that in order to grow, you have to leave an organization, whether it's for experience or promotion or compensation. You have to stair step into other organizations, and maybe sometimes that's true for some orgs. But I know, thinking about the way to engage folks and keep them in the organization and allow them to do maybe something different. Maybe it's a bit of a stretch, or maybe it's a skill that they used in a previous company that didn't necessarily surface when they first started. So being able to stay in the organization, drive that engagement, keep that institutional knowledge in the organization instead of having it leave, and that feeling of connectedness to a company, right? It's a lot of work on both sides to onboard just one person. So if I don't have to go through that as a person, and I get to stay at the company and continue those relationships and then get to that next role, through skills, understanding what I have done and what I can do. Gosh, what a great way to drive that
Exactly.
engagement, save costs, do all of the things, right? And keeping that great talent inside your organization instead of having them feel like, wah, wah, okay, this role's done, I
Yeah,
gotta go.
exactly. Well said. I mean, the cost savings alone, right, was a huge win for Bristol Myers, as well as making sure that when we identified or redeploy the talent internally, we were able to move at such a speed. Again, going back to that human in the loop and that human centered transformation of what we were really focused on. We wanted to make sure we were grounded in a lot of the work that was basically the foundation of how we were able to kind of transform um, some of our processes in the talent space.
Yeah, and that was something that we hadn't really talked about, was the speed piece, right? Because when you already understand where somebody's at, when those skills have been identified and they are continually being updated and cataloged and matched to open opportunities, it's a lot easier than a shoulder tap of saying, "Hey, I know this person on the here and I want them in the role." And then all the work that has to go here, you're like, "We've already identified them. We already know that they're going to be the right fit." Plus, that also helps you then figure out succession planning, what next person is coming into that role. So that identification ahead of time really does drive that speed and allows somebody to get into a new role more quickly, and then also making sure that there isn't a gap left in their previous role. Yeah, love that. So we've spent some time talking about what does that look like to partner that human in the lead, right? Um, there's a lot of conversation around that collaboration with AI. We're not going to integrate with it, but we're going to collaborate. And it's going to be a partner going forward, whether we want it to be or not, right? Like, it's here, it's coming, it's here, it's moving us forward. AI is the slowest today that it ever has been and that it ever will be. So we have to help leaders learn and lead alongside AI. So we still want to keep human front and center, right? Human in the lead. Um, but technology is fast becoming our daily teammate. So how do you see that playing out at BMS in specific, and maybe in general? How are you thinking about this AI as a teammate as opposed to a piece of tech that we engage when we need it?
Yeah, like I said in the beginning, I personally believe that AI is my co-pilot. Someone that's in the work with me day to day. But in terms of leadership in this AI era, it definitely means this shift from command and control to collaboration with
Yeah,
technology.
for sure.
Yeah, leaders need to develop this digital acumen and emotional intelligence simultaneously. And here, like at BMS, I believe we're training managers to interpret AI insights, which while keeping human judgment front and center. And the goal is not to replace leadership, but to augment it. So using AI for data and humans for context and empathy is something our leaders can definitely relate to.
Yeah, that I think is the right way to think about it, that there has to be that collaboration, um, and that down the road, we're starting to hear and think about the possibility that leaders will be connected to people, but they may be managing agents and agentic workflows, and they have to know that tech just as well as the folks that are going to be using it. So I think there is definitely a shift coming for leaders because I think they're going to have to be a little bit more tech savvy maybe than they have in the past. But I also think that this is a perfect time to be alive in the workplace because think about the tech we get to use. We get to learn about it, right? We get to tell our kids and our kids' kids, like, we were on the forefront of putting AI and like all of those things. Like we get to be in that space of deciding what it looks like. So I think it's really
Exactly.
exciting and how we can use it for good and continue to, as you mentioned earlier, think about those guardrails, but making sure that it's amplifying the work that we're doing, allowing us to be strategic and focus on context and culture and making sure that the right pieces are in the right places.
For sure. All relatable
Oh,
for
yeah,
every all
all the
all
things
leaders out there.
every day, right? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was at a Friendsgiving event, and I can't not talk about the cool things that are happening in AI and what's happening in the world. And so we were all sitting around the table, and somebody said something, and I started talking about AI, and someone turned to me who I had just met, and she was like, "Are you a teacher? What?" I'm like, "No, but I talk about AI all day, every day." So
Yeah. You've become the expert now
I
amongst
I guess,
your
I don't
crew.
know. But
Yeah.
it's that continual learning, right? Like we're never going to be done. We're going to continue to learn. We're going to have to continue to grow. I was just thinking about that this morning, like, hey, I need to update this deck because the slide that I put in last week is no longer relevant. So we have to continue to learn and grow. And it's okay. I think maybe that's one of the things as we talk about like cultural shifts. It used to be we had to know all the things. The leaders had to be in charge and they disseminated the knowledge. And now it's about being a curious learner as opposed to an all knower. So talk to me a little bit about your thoughts about those cultural shifts, either that are starting to happen or that you think need to happen to really get to that AI human collaboration that we've been talking about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, outside of work, I would say culture, right? It's a mixed bag. But at a workplace, I think culture is the hardest part. We're moving from this job-based mindset to a skills-based ecosystem, Rebecca. And that
Yeah.
requires openness to continuous learning, transparency about AI and how it works, and that there's trust that the technology is here to empower. Again, not to take over, not to monitor employees. And so for me, I think reverse mentoring and that multi-generational collaboration are definitely key to making this shift stick
Okay, so reverse mentoring, that's super interesting
at
because I was
scale
just
for sure.
talking about that with someone. Yeah, that idea that it doesn't necessarily have to be the more experienced person teaching the less experienced person, but it could be a Gen Zer
Correct.
talking to a Gen Xer about what does this look like in the world? How do we use tech, right? You think about the different generations, and I'm not trying to generalize too much, but we use tech very differently, right? There's certain groups that are only on Facebook, and there are
Yeah,
groups that only text, and some folks are like, "Wait, my phone actually
I'm
makes phone calls." Super weird, which I don't make phone calls on my phone.
yeah, I'm learning every day too. I'm learning every
Yeah,
day. I learn from my kids. My
yeah.
kids are in first grade and they're using technology and I'm sure pieces of AI will start to merge into their daily routine. So it's definitely something that could definitely be learned at any stage of life.
Yeah, and I think the message is that it's okay. We are never going to be able to know all the things. So let's be curious learners. Let's continue to ask questions. Let's figure out, adjust, shift, test, try, and then move on to the next thing. Okay.
Exactly.
All right, so I'm asking you, pull out your magic 8 ball and shake it up. I'm asking you to predict the future if you're ready here. So if
I'm
we
ready.
think, okay, if we think a few years ahead, and I spend time talking about there's no opportunity for certainty of the future, but clarity in the moment, right? But if we try to guess what we think is coming, what do you think success in the workplace is going to look like, right? I don't think it's just going to be about adopting AI or developing a new project team. But what when we create workplaces with human in the lead and technology embedded in our organization, the foundation, right, building what that looks like, what do you think that future is going to look like? Is it going to make us more human, less human? Like, tell me your thoughts. I want to pick your
Yeah.
brain.
I
Tell us
get
the
this
things,
question.
Raj.
I get this question pretty often, right? I don't want to consider myself an AI expert by any means, but again, just to your point, we're so embedded in this space. Every organization right now is making these investments into this space if they're not already there. So, like for example, the next 5 years, you said it right on the ball. Success won't be measured by those AI adoption rates, but definitely how much that technology enhances that human connection, right? Imagine workplaces where AI personalizes development in your workforce, predicts burnout before it happens, and it frees up those leaders,
Mm,
right, to focus on coaching and culture that we've been talking about. The future isn't humans versus machines, Rebecca, it's humans amplified by machines.
that's right.
And here at BMS, it will definitely help us amplify our employee workforce and help us bring medicines to patients faster. And that's something that I think a lot of people will be behind. Again, when you go and ground yourself with the human centered transformation and that approach that you're solving a human problem, you're just going to go so many places with this, and it's going to continue to evolve. Like you said, I mean, who knows what the next 10 years is going to show, but definitely within the next 5, we're going to move away from those AI adoption rates. And we mentioned a little bit of agentic and more of that agent and the autonomous piece of it. So I think that's what we're getting ourselves into if we're not already there.
Yeah, I think we are definitely in a space of furious innovation. And I was listening to someone say last week that you can't efficiency your way into innovation. So that stuck with me. Like, what does that look like? We are going to have to continue to innovate and think differently and drive different expectations. And one other thing that you said too, with those expectations, is it's not about AI adoption. I think that's so true. We now need to think about what does the business need to achieve, and everything comes down from that, right? It's not about here's your job, here's your tasks, here's your things. It's like, what does the business need? How are we going to get there? So I think it's redeploying folks in a way that maybe they've never been never been enabled to before, right? Focused on the work as opposed to focus on the job. And when we lead with the outcomes that the business is looking for, it completely shakes up the whole entire org chart format, ways that we've been looking at work.
Exactly.
All right, I think we might be at time here, so thank you for that conversation. Ella, I will flip it back to you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank
And I
you.
think it's really important, the whole human in the loop, human over the loop, human in front of the loop, wherever the human is, just as long as they're somewhere in the loop, that's always good.
Absolutely.
I'm afraid we are out of time, so we haven't got time for the questions, but I'm sure we can get them to you somehow. But yeah, thank you so much, Rebecca and Raj.
Thank you, Ella.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.